So if everyone will rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll open the meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good morning and welcome all to the October meeting of the Clinton County Council. I have a somewhat brief but important agenda here today, so we'll get right into it. Beginning with the approval of meeting minutes, we have three sets of minutes: our regular meeting from September 14th, and then two executive sessions, August the 10th and September the 24th. I'm going to look to my left and my right to see whether you gentlemen had a chance to review
I did
those.
review all three sets, but I'll start with the September 14th. Or can we approve them all at once? What's your preference?
Let's do them one at a
Yeah,
time.
okay, I would make a motion to approve the September 14th minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Clark and a second by Jeff for the September meeting. John was not there, so he'll abstain from this one. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. And then the August 10th executive session.
Jeff?
Yeah, I looked at those and I would approve those as written. Make a motion.
Second that.
I have a motion by Jeff, second by Ron. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0, I'm sorry. And then one last set, September 24th executive session.
Same. I make a motion to
Okay.
pass those, to approve those.
Second.
I have a motion by Jeff, second by Clark. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0 with Jacob stating he was not able to attend that one. Okay. Our regular monthly reports, we begin with Community Corrections and Brett Barton. Good morning.
Morning, Brett.
This morning, we have 88 clients on our program. 4 are on CTP. We have 9 juveniles and 1 on pretrial release. We did get our canine back in late September, so we're happy with that. His name's Rocco.
Rocco.
Part Dutch Shepherd, part Belgian Malinois. I knew I'd butcher that. So happy to have that. Nick's going to be in training for about another 6 weeks at the Sheriff's Department. One thing I did bring to the Commissioner's attention, that because Nick does live in the city limits, departmental policy requires him to have a 6-foot fence. We're going to pay for that fence. We're going to enter into an agreement with Nick that if he can't fulfill his duties for a 5-year period, he's going to reimburse the cost of that fence.
Okay.
Because that will bring up his property value a little bit, and just an agreement we made.
Okay.
That's really all I have today. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions for Brett?
Nope.
All right. Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
We don't have Nancy with us, but I believe she submitted her report.
Yeah, it was good. Hang on there, my stupid computer. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so, nothing, $140 for
$140 for the
September.
month for juvenile detention.
Yeah, and the
costs.
total was only 7,700. I look back and, wow.
It's been a very strong year.
The Trex program's probably been helping on that, I think.
Well, that's just the expenditures. The
Just-
Trex would be on the income side, which
Well,
she's
yeah.
not showing there, but good month. Okay. That gets us to the heart of the agenda for today, and we'll begin with, we have a guest with us today, Jerry Thornton from Irish Mechanical, and I think I'm going to have Commissioner Timmons who's going to maybe make a brief introduction and set the stage here a little bit. So, Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, as you know, both children.
Hey, can I interrupt? And would you mind going up here? Because for our folks watching online, that lets them hear you.
Well, as you know, both chillers at the jail's 28 years old, the boilers, everything's wore out. The chiller here is 30 years old. So I've been dealing with 3 different contractors, trying to find the best product. And I think for right now, the jail, we're just looking at replacing 1-for-1, the same size chillers and everything, the same size boilers. And we're trying to get a package deal, both chillers at the jail, both boilers at the jail, and the new chiller here. So I brought these gentlemen in to answer any questions or anything you guys might have.
Well, Jerry, I'm happy to invite you up to the podium, and if you'd like to share anything about your observations on the current status of the equipment and give us a ballpark idea of what we're looking at on, replacement costs.
Okay.
This is, look, I guess I'll be clear, we're talking at a point here where this is informational only. You're doing us a solid here by giving us some input, but we need to go through a bid process and,
Okay. Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for the invite.
yeah.
Much appreciated. Mark and I have been working on this for a couple months. I was brought in to do some research, and you want to start at the the courthouse here?
Yeah, that'd be
Like,
fine.
like Mark said, it's a 30-year-old chiller. We're going to go back with the direct, a like-for-like replacement as far as tonnage capacity. Any more outside of that box, it just costs more for the town. Staying with an internal remote barrel, outdoor condenser set in the same location. It's a little smaller in stature as well. You only have that 4-foot fence out there, so aesthetic-wise, think about something in the future if you wanted to hide that at all from your parents or your courthouse.
Okay.
Boilers are already been replaced, correct, Mark? That kind of, any questions here regarding the chiller and how that works and before we move on to the jail?
Any
Is
questions?
there any more you want to know about that? Would you want to know the price that I put
Well,
together for?
I don't think any of us are, yeah, we need to be starting to think about what kind of a budget
Okay.
type of number we're looking at.
These are actually solid investments
Okay,
from Irish. They're not a budgeted.
okay,
At first I did do budgets, but there's the time frame with equipment pricing, the way it's going up and down, and metal and aluminum and steel and all that stuff. It's crazy. Let's see, courthouse chiller project. And I'll just kind of go through the scope of work real quick, brief. It's just replacing the existing 90-ton with a new 90-ton. Train. Excuse me. That one in total is $128,779. $128,779. Now we can add compressor blankets helps with the noise. Low noise condenser fans for an additional 1,800 on top of that, 128,779.
okay.
Questions?
That's one for one, we're just replacing, that's what I heard, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and we're keeping it exactly the same. You got it's an air to water chiller. You got a remote indoor evaporator, and then we just take the heat out of the water and reject it outside through air. So we wanted to keep that same concept because it would cost you guys a lot more money to go different. Then we'd had to worry about glycol if we were to put a package outdoor evaporator. You'd have an additional equipment that we would have to worry about, glycol feeds, glycol, and that stuff. Over time, if you really have to keep up on quarterly maintenance and whatnot.
Very
So
good.
that's what we decided to do there.
Thanks.
All right, that covers the courthouse. We'll go to the jail
Sure.
boilers.
Yes,
Yeah. So this one was to demo your existing boilers.
Oh.
And then installing 3 new Lochinvar night boilers, the new condensing boilers, in the exact same location. Same header application, using the existing pads, pumps, hot water pumps, all that will stay. Only with the exception of only one thing we decided we were gonna have to do is actually take the new flue through the shooting range above the panels and penetrate 2 exterior walls to get the flue and the intake for the new condensating boilers. The application you have now is kind of
okay.
not kind of, it's incorrect. And that total investment was $142,000 for the 3 boilers. And all 3 of those are 800,000 BTU. So you're still gonna have your same capacity, same flow rate. You'll have redundancy. Correct. Just the boiler. Now, this is the larger project of the 3, the chiller. Similar to the courthouse, we want to keep the concept, the equipment concept the same. You know, don't go with a package chiller outside because we got to install glycol feeders. Keep it the same. We got 2 indoor chillers, and the DX condensers actually sit outside. So again, it's air to water. We're going to utilize the existing chilled water pumps. We're going to tie into the we'll be able to use. We're going to be able to tie into the existing loop. We're going to be able to use the existing pads. Rigging and mobilization is going to be fairly good because you got to drive down jail there where you keep your police cars and stuff down there. We can drive right down there and get the old chillers out, the new chillers in. And obviously, the condensers outside will utilize a crane on that back alley to hit that portion. So that's 250-ton chillers.
Okay.
That gives you plenty of redundancy as well. Now again, though, we're utilizing this existing chilled water pumps and all the specialties within their expansion tanks. Any economizers, any heat exchangers, that's all staying. As far as the building automation, that's something, guys, I don't carry, we don't do DDC controls. So, you know, we'll definitely have to involve them during the duration of the project to be able to help set that up because it's BACnet, some of it's lawn. Every device, every piece of equipment I have right here has BACnet capability. It has the card in there to communicate with any type of DDC control. But I cannot actually do that myself.
And so what you're describing, is that all original stuff that you're describing right there, where your company doesn't do that work? So you're attaching these new 250-ton chillers to this existing old hardware or
Well,
infrastructure or?
all the mechanical and the piping and all that stuff, that's easy to do. It's the DDC portion, how you guys see fit to control. Now, the chillers are going to have their own independent control. What DDC and building automation does is they'll go in, say you got a Jace that sets up and it goes in, pulls all the inputs and outputs out of this and gives Mark the capability to have a front end laptop or a computer, and you just get on there and see your discharge air temperatures, return and supply temperatures from your loop. You're not controlling anything. You're just writing a program. You're just writing the program as you see fit, how you want to view it on your front end. Does that make sense? And it's just a fancy thermostat that a lot of commercial industrials.
Well, my question was just from your comment that you made, it just made it sound like, we're putting, this on this. We don't do that work, and that's fine, that's not part of your scope, but I
Yes.
just wanna make sure, is that 30-year-old stuff you're putting it on? That's,
I'm not sure, how old is your building automation?
okay,
answer that.
yeah.
Okay.
The controls that are watched on a computer screen or on just our maintenance people are able to watch, Sheriff Rich Kelly can't see me, that is 30 years old, and that programming. So that, from his conversation, what he just said, would be additional on top of that to pay for a company to come in and put in, because we cannot even replace the computers that we run it. That's how old. Replace the computer, we've got to replace EDC, what he's talking about, and that's to manage the system for efficiency. And currently at this time, our guys our maintenance people pop tiles or wherever they're at and adjust
Thanks, Sheriff. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So on that system then, is that how many pieces to the puzzle is there? Obviously, the mechanical part of that, the logical part of that. Is there something to do with, is it gone so far now that we're actually including IT in this too? Is there another portion, or is the controls all done through a two-piece? It's mechanical, and then the controls, like,
Yes,
just two pieces of the puzzle? That we're looking-
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and being 30 years old, it is probably lawn or, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think, Jerry, your machine to set up was carved in.
That's correct.
And the program we got now will read the
That's correct.
new chillers. So it's not something you have to do right away. The cards is set up and the chillers, and you'll be able to read everything on the program we got now. Just like the courthouse, we have one here, but it's just so outdated that
Yeah, and most of that stuff's not proprietary anymore, which is a good thing because like I said, they could put in a Jace and it sucks out all the points of your existing controller, and then your new DVC guy can manipulate that how you see fit without having to replace, 3,000 feet of wire, conduit, which is gets even more expensive. So, but back to this, let me see, for the 250, now this one's 495,000 for that project at the jail.
Jerry, we just recently acquired the property across the road that we're in the process of evaluating for what sort of needs it may have to get it up to our standards and specs. Is there such a thing as a volume discount if there were 3 units to be discussed versus or 3 buildings to be dealt with versus 2, or is it more or less that each thing would stand on its own and it is what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I could certainly look into that. Never hurts to go back to the manufacturer. Certainly
Okay.
obtain that idea, absolutely. I do it on quite a bit, actually. That's something we could definitely try to do. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm not sure if we have that data yet, do we, Josh? On what our needs are over there?
Give me, what was the ballpark total for everything? Could it exceed $150,000
Yes.
total?
Yes.
So this is obviously work that would have to be bid out.
Correct.
You can't just pick out. You guys remember recently, we took steps to utilize the build, operate, transfer method. So we would be out of the bidding, or out of the seeking bid process. We hire somebody to do that for us. They take on the responsibility, have change orders. All that stuff.
Right.
You guys remember that?
Yes.
So I think once we get a total idea of what we're gonna need, we go back and we amend our plan for the emergency rescue plan. Sure that HVAC's gonna qualify.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a better idea where we're at with this. I realize there's an urgent need, or it sounds like there's an urgent need at the jail, but I don't think we're that far away.
Yeah, and I thank you for bringing those things up, because I was going to elaborate on that too. So the idea here is that we would use our American Rescue Plan funds for this. And we've run it by Baker Tilly, and their guidance back to us is that it would qualify based on guidance from the Treasury Department, so that's good. The first step before anything can be expended is that the commissioners have to make an amendment to their ordinance, because the ordinance requires, the federal legislation requires that the ordinance detail how you're going to spend the money. So what we did initially when we established the fund is that we said it would be, essentially we said it'll be spent on any allowable use per the federal legislation, and that was kind of the guidance we were given. But as those any allowable uses became known, we were supposed to amend that document to list each for transparency and reportability back to the federal government. So the very first thing would be that the commissioners would have to amend the ordinance to identify the scope of the project. So that's where it gets down to whether it's 2 buildings or 3 buildings or whatever. And then we have to go through some paperwork and process to make sure that we document correctly how that money gets spent out of the ARP. And then I guess, you know, the thing that I keep bringing up that I would really like us to woe back just a little bit is until we can get some more information on that Regions building to find out whether it would make sense to do all three of those buildings at one time versus just two, knowing that there's a pretty high likelihood that the third building, you know, is gonna have to have some sort of similar work done. And I guess it does feel like maybe we need to make sure we do our due diligence and have a discussion about your point, Jeff. I mean, you know, we don't want to just push to the next problem, you know, it needs to, feels like it needs to be dealt with in a comprehensive way, and I think we just need to review all of that information that we're gonna have in front of us, so. What we needed from you today, Jerry, is that I don't think a lot of us knew what kind of scope of numbers we were looking at,
Absolutely.
and none of us are fluent in the language of heating and cooling, and so we needed a starting point, and to get working on the discussions, and Mark was kind enough to invite you today, and I
help.
appreciate you taking the time and
Yeah,
giving
no
us
problem.
that background. Obviously, we're starting down the road, but we're at the very beginning of starting down that
Yeah,
road.
Absolutely.
So, I'm sure you'll hear from us some more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Thank you.
thank you for coming today.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jerry.
thank you.
Anybody, I guess, I don't want to just walk away from that. If anybody else had anything they wanted to discuss or questions or anything, anybody?
On the bot, I hope that we, I mean, I'm not against the bot, and obviously we've heard the presentation, but I've also went out and talked to contractors and asked them what they've heard and thought about that too, you know. And so there are pros and cons to that, so I just hope we don't just wholeheartedly buy into that concept without doing a little bit of research and say, what is the cons of going bot, you know? Because I think there are some keys to that if we knew in advance, we could save ourselves, because there is a little stumbling in that bot program too. So I think you just don't just push that off to say, oh, bot's gonna handle all this for us. I think we still gotta do our due diligence to make sure that we're spending our money.
Well, if it's done correctly, they work very closely with us. It's not like we cede all of our authority and our oversight.
Correct.
We work very closely with that, whether it's Envoy or whoever, so.
Yeah, I would not have suggested had I not done my research. That's not how I do things.
Thank you.
Big numbers, though.
Big numbers.
Yes, sir.
And those numbers, are they guaranteeing those prices? Anybody know? I mean, as far as if we go bot, are they guaranteeing those prices as far as?
I thought so.
Putting on a budget, that's
Yeah.
it. All, no increases. Unless
Because-
you expand the scope of work.
Because out in the bidding war right now, they're getting to the place where they're not guaranteeing anything anymore.
The good news for us is, that's not our problem if we go abroad. Contractor's problem.
Anything else? Okay, we will move on down the agenda then. Next up, Ed Tripe, County Coroner, with an update on a request that we have in our packets here, additional appropriations a little later for an increase on the autopsies line item.
Yeah, we've been very busy this year, unfortunately, at the coroner's office. We've had a total of 64 cases this year. 23 of those cases have been autopsy cases. That's about 20% more than previous years. So line item 007030044 is really taking a hard hit this year. As of right now, I still have $1,720.75 in there. However, I have 7 outstanding invoices for autopsies, which total $11,484, which will put that in the red, 975525, $9,755.25. So, come this morning to ask for an additional appropriation of $20,000 to help offset costs for the autopsies. Because we're not even in, I mean, we have 3 more months left, and we're not even in the busy part of the year yet. During the holidays, it usually gets pretty busy. So that's what I'm here today to ask for, is an extra $20,000 additional appropriation.
In a big chunk of that, was it like 5,000 that was Tippecanoe? Was that?
Yes. Yeah, 40,500 was for Tippecanoe County. I believe the previous coroner Told you guys about the Indiana Code 36-2-1420. It's billing counties for cost of autopsies.
Right.
So smaller counties usually get hurt by this. I'm on the legislative committee for the Indiana State Coroners Association. We're trying to get this amended to help smaller counties out. But however, for now, when an incident happens, say a motor vehicle accident happens here in this county, and they are taken to Lafayette, to St. Elizabeth over here in Lafayette, and they die over there. And that coroner that has jurisdiction over there, Tippecanoe County coroner, if they feel that an autopsy needs to take place, Clinton County has to pay for it because that's where the incident originated at. So that's why I put that in that email so you guys could read through that.
Is that still the case, even if it's just a person from Chicago driving on 65 that just happens to have their accident on our stretch of
Yes.
65?
If that incident happens within Clinton County and they're transferred out and they die in another county and that coroner sees an autopsy's fit, the originating county has to pay for it.
Okay.
That's why I'm going next year to fight to get this amended because smaller counties are really taking a beating on this.
Well, I think that's what got our attention,
Yeah.
and I think, I don't know, with the morgue, when that gets.
That's one good thing that
Yes.
we've saved. I looked that up. We've saved about $5,000 on facility use fees because local funeral homes and our traveling pathologist has been coming to our county to do autopsies, so we haven't had to utilize that. We did have to utilize that facility for the double homicide that we had this summer. But however, we've been able to stay local with the local funeral homes letting us use their facilities. When we get the new morgue, hopefully we're going to be bringing revenue in from Carroll County and Tipton County. So we're moving in the right direction.
Sure.
By the way, the morgue is complete, just still waiting on equipment. It'd be awesome if council could stop by there and check it out, commissioners stop out by there and check it out. It's really nice.
Okay, good.
Looper Construction did an outstanding job there.
Well, thank you for your leadership on
Yeah.
that. Well timed.
And, well, the sink, the autopsy sink is the only thing that's delayed. It should be here within the next week or so. So once that gets in there, I'm gonna start putting all that stuff together.
Appreciate the email in advance too. That was
Yes.
very beneficial.
Yeah.
I think that was,
Yeah, we
it
can
all
talk
out,
about that
and
later.
explained it all, and give us a heads up.
Yeah.
Appreciate that very much. And it does look great. I stopped out there
Did
and
you?
walked in while they were working on it.
Mhm.
Looks good.
Very nice facility.
Ed, we will vote on that as a part of the full additional appropriations slate.
Okay.
So I won't have them vote on it now, but I appreciate the background and the explanation for that,
Okay.
for that particular item. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, next item, Resolution 2021-05, authorizing an interfund loan. This is a loan for the health department that frankly is a cash flow situation where Rodney is qualified for a grant, but the grant needs to be spent and the monies need to be spent and then get reimbursed. So we're essentially advancing the money for him to spend and then get reimbursed. And as I understood, we've already received, Rodney's here, I guess I can let him say that, but we've already received the money.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we appreciate any effort we can to keep working and COVID-19.
Yeah, so I think this is all gonna be very tidy. We're gonna authorize this today, and it'll probably be repaid within 48 hours if I had to guess, but, so that's what this is for $50,000 from hospital contractual to the health department and interfund loan.
I'll move to pass resolution 2021-05.
Okay, I have a motion by Jake,
Second.
second by Jeff to pass that resolution authorizing the loan. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, now, the main item of business for today is to approve the final adoption on the 2022 budget ordinances. We've got 3 ordinances for the county, the airport, and for the Wildcat solid waste. And let me get to that. And those resolution numbers are 2021, is it 12, 16? I have different numbers on this page.
Yeah,
in
I
here.
changed
So you changed,
it,
okay.
yeah.
So 12, 13, and 14 respectively, 2021, 12, 13, and 14. with regard to the county one, we had one outstanding decision yet to make when we adjourned in our September meeting, and that was we had a handful of positions that asked for raises beyond the 4%. And our instruction had been, and we were kind of going through this for the first time with our new HR person, and I think we just had some miscommunication as to why that didn't get done for September. But we'd asked each of those respective department heads to work with the HR consultant and have him make a recommendation back as to whether those adjustments were appropriate, and he has responded. You all saw the email. He did respond that they were each warranted. He's made the appropriate either amendments to a job description or made an explanation as to why he felt like for instance, with Ed's position, we're adding the responsibilities of managing a morgue now. So it's a very obvious change in his duties. So there's no change that we need to make in your budget book, because that just essentially says that the request as it was presented would stay as presented. He also submitted the salary survey, which I felt like it showed that we've made a lot of progress. We had nobody that had fallen below that 95% threshold. I think the 98 maybe was the lowest I'd showed. So that no further adjustments needed to be made there. I think the only things, we narrowed it down to the things we were going to have to additional appropriate in January were the hospital lease payment or incentive payment to IU Health. I thought we got those in here. We got that in there. And then we were gonna have to make the adjustments that we talked about to the federal inmate fund. So those things would be taken care of in January. So with that being said, the numbers that you see here, and I suppose I should, for those that may be reading, or watching on YouTube, I'll just read each fund total.
Real quick.
Sure.
Alan. I've only had 2 here. Is I'm missing something, or?
Do you have?
I just have it for myself.
I only got 2 also.
Here, I'll go make a copy. We finished this one this morning.
Okay, yeah, we're missing the county. Well, I'll talk about the second and third ones then, that you all can look at. So which one's next? Airport, primary budget of $648,850, a cumulative airport building fund of $104,000, the debt service budget of $186,000, and rainy day of $10,000. That's actually a little bit smaller than last year. Last year was artificially high because of the construction during this current budget year, but with the new hangar building going up, that project would be completed for next year. Then for the solid waste district, that's the regular budget of $320,000. Does anybody have any questions I know, John, you missed September. It was I don't want to say an easy budget. They're never easy, but it was a fairly straightforward budget. We did move forward with the 4% raises, and then we'll make these adjustments we talked about today. But wasn't a whole lot of real difficult stuff in there. We did proceed forward. You may recall that the prosecutor asked for some new positions. We did move forward with the paralegal position, and then the additional deputy prosecutor. So, but those were included in there.
You remember that discussion anyways, earlier,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
I've got mine.
12 and 13 and 14.
Yeah, 12, 13, and 14 are
Thank you. 12 is the waste.
12, so 2021-12 is the county.
Okay. Okay.
2021-13 is the airport. 2021-14 is solid waste. So just for the benefit of the gallery and the public, let me just read down through. You recall in our budget book, we've got all these different tabs, and there's several different budgets in there. The general fund budget, $11,877,962. Our assessor's reassessment fund, we do approximately 1/4 of the county each year, $289,216. The county wheel tax, $752,000. Cumulative courthouse, $203,200. The highway department, $2,762,020. That's augmented by local road and street, which is $419,416. And the cumulative bridge fund, which is $770,812. Health department, $360,048. It says emergency telephone system, but I believe that's 911, our dispatch budget, $649,984. EMS, $3,052,409. Cumulative capital development, $328,100. And then economic development, $1,037,550. That's primarily debt service payment. For a total budget that we'd be adopting today of $22,502,717. Are there any of those items that were brought up in August or September that anybody wants to revisit? If not, those are the sum totals of all those days of discussions, and we're ready to make the final step and adopt. At that point, we send to the state. The state gives the final approval, sends us what's called a 1782 notice, and that's where they verify that we have the revenues or the cash balances to cover these. If they're, in their view, we do not, they tell us cut an amount of money that we would need to cut, and we have to dig in a little bit more. If you're all okay with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-12.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by
Make a
Jeff.
motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Jeff and a second by Ron. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. That moves us to the airport budget, 2021-13. That grand total is $948,925.
Make a motion to approve 2021-13.
Okay. A motion
Second.
by Jake and a second by Clark. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. And lastly, the solid waste budget, 2021-14, for $320,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Clark,
Second.
second by Jake. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Put the wraps on another budget year. Thank you for all your work and study and preparation for that.
Just for my personal record, what were those additions that we were talking about on the county budget that we need to remember to do?
Well, there's none in the county budget.
Okay.
In the landfill budget was the IU health payment.
Okay,
And then you'll recall we moved some items to the federal inmate housing,
yeah,
and those are the ones that we gotta, that they weren't advertised that we would have to put in.
I'm sure Britt will remember all
Yeah,
of it.
Britt's got a list. Britt's got a list. Additional appropriations. A lot of numbers here. Okay, starting with the general fund. Trying to look, the very first item, Brett, says 44, there it is, okay. $44.74, we had a reimbursement check from Indiana Oxygen. Then we have a couple of items that are regarding invoices that we received on the final invoices. I think we're really close, final invoices on the EMS East Side building, and I want to explain a couple of things we've done to help mitigate those invoices. But the first one you'll see, first appropriation is $50,620.79. That's actually appropriating money from county general to pay bills. But if you flip the page, the next one also is for that EMS building, and it's $29,370. I'm presenting to you the option that we would use the money that we received from the sale of the land under the skating rink which we closed on in the last 30 days. That's how much money the county received, and it seemed like the highest and best use that we could essentially transfer the money from that land out to that EMS building. So we deferred that much of the cost by doing that. And then, so then the remainder will come out of the county general. Okay. And I think, Josh, we're pretty well wrapped up, right? I think Greg said he had a couple of odds and ends were on like a credit card bill, but, oh, yeah, yeah. And Greg is on duty today, but he did text me this morning and said to let everybody know he'll have staffing in there within a couple of weeks, so we're basically there. We have another reimbursement from Water Logic, $496.98. That's apparently for some work at the jail. It's from the sheriff's service agreement. Then this is where you'll see the $20,000 for the autopsies line item that Ed was kind enough to give us a really in-depth explanation for. I believe that's all of the county generals, but together that makes a pretty large number of $100,532.51. Moving on to Cume Cap, we got an insurance indemnity payment of $8,557.14. That's going to go back into the Braden copier lease line item. Now the next one is actually a two-step process. You'll see the same number in two different places, but this is with regard to the $1 million community crossing grant. And in that $1 million grant, we have to come up with a match. So this first number is the $334,604 that's coming from the county MVH as our portion of the match for the $1 million we got from the state. Then you'll see later on, so what we're doing is we're appropriating that it gets put into the Community Crossings Grant Fund, and then later on you'll see where we appropriate it from the Community Crossings Grant Fund so that it can be paid out to the vendors. So this is where the county is putting our money into that separate grant fund for the Community Crossings Program, $334,604. Then we have from MVH $40,000 for paving the parking lot at the Highway Department. Let's see. And then from the Local Health Department Trust, got a couple of items. $4,800 to pay an intern, a salary for an intern. $4,700 to pay immunization nurse trainee, and then $800 also for the immunization nurse trainee. And that totals $10,300 from that trust fund. Adult probation, Nancy got another check from the state on the TREX program, $373.05. Sheriff's Department received a $10,000 criminal justice grant for a canine unit that we're going to appropriate for their use with that unit. Sheriff's Gifts Fund, they continue to be very successful in the fundraising for the motor patrol supplies. It looks like the total number is $2,925 that's been fundraised with donations and shirt sales. It's been really successful. Landfill tipping fees, $1,911. So when we acquired the Regions building, we had to add that onto our insurance policy, and this is the additional premium to cover that new building. Travel immunization fund, $3,000. The money comes in, we appropriate more money out to purchase more vaccine to keep that cycle going. So this is to appropriate money for the purchase of additional vaccines. And these are regular vaccines, not anything to do with COVID. This would be what your kids are getting when they go to school and so on. Community corrections, we got a reimbursement and an indemnity check, $1,295.03 for an accident we had with a vehicle. And then back to the health department, a couple of items from the Health Department's CARES Act money. $100, I'm sorry, this is a donation that we're putting into that fund, $100 for lunches at the COVID clinic, a donation that someone made. And then we've got $4,500, this is for pay for extra assistance in the office to help with the COVID support. And then $6,700 to cover salary as needed for the vaccine clinic nurse as we continue to rack up the hours. And then it looks like $3,000 says to integrate the building. Rodney, $3,000 to cover the remaining balance to integrate the building.
That integrated builder is the vendor.
Oh, integrated builder, okay, got it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what that is that was some final stuff that we were putting in and covered that bill, immunization.
Okay, okay, very good.
Integrated builder is the vendor that.
And then we got a refund of $214.79 from Gilman Home Center for a total of $14,514.79. And then last but certainly not least is that appropriation of the $334,604 now from the Community Crossings grant that allows that to be paid to the vendors that did the work. And that is your additional appropriation ordinance 2021-15.
I make a motion to approve.
A motion by Jeff, second by Ron. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. We do have a stack of transfers that require approval as well, including one that was a new one that got handed out today that you should have on your desk. I may have to have you look and see if it's this one right there. Okay, I may have to have that. From Extension, 2,000 from office supplies to extra help and 1,500 from carpet cleaning to extra help. Superior Court, $3,000 from transcripts to straight time. Health Department, $1,200 from equipment to travel immunization. Health Department, $5,000 from administrative salary to a particular administrative line item to another administrative line item. I don't see the details on which is which, but it's a salary transfer. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. This is the one that it says, we're gonna transfer the Saturday money to the Monday to Friday.
So what we're doing is transferring COVID grant money where they originally said we need to be open on Saturdays, and now we realize we don't need to be, and putting that into line items that are Monday through Friday.
Yeah, there you go. Much better said than what I did. $2,000 from swabbers to supplies, supplies for the COVID clinic. $1,000 from extra assistant to COVID supplies. $2,590 from Social Security and Medicare VC to
That was the vaccine.
to just regular Social Security and Medicare, so the regular departmental.
What we did was, in this case, we set up, when we got additional money for vaccines, we set up money to do separate, Social Security and Medicaid for those particular positions, and I think the gals just combined it all in one.
Okay,
So, we were moving some-
that makes sense. So we're moving it out of that budget into just the regular. Got it. $1,500 from extra assistant to operating supplies. That concludes health. And then in the Wildcat Solid Waste District budget, $55 from postage, $666.87 from publishing materials, $245.10 from publishing materials, and that all goes to, I'm sorry, I said those wrong. First two go to office supplies, the third one goes to safety supplies, and then to publishing materials, $122 to travel. And then the newest one that was on your desk here today is a commissioner's request, $9,000 and $8,500. That's the $1,750. This is to approve, okay, this is the money we got from NDOT when they did the Ivy Tech project here at the interchange, and they had to purchase some right-of-way. That's $1,750, and we're appropriating that money. I don't know what the line item we're appropriating to is, or moving to is. Do you know?
It's miscellaneous disbursement.
Okay, okay. gives them the ability to utilize it. So that is your slate of transfers. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Jake to approve those transfers. Do I have a second? Second by John. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. All right. We have in there a September financial statement that we need to go on the record as having reviewed.
I have reviewed it.
Yep. Okay, so I have a motion by Jeff.
Second.
Second by Clark. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0 that we've reviewed that. Council reports. Anybody have anything that they took part in or feel like the council needs to be made aware of?
I went out to the EMS open house on the east side. Beautiful building. I think it's great for the community out there. It's kind of a beacon for that little spot there, and heard some nice things from the residents of the east side of the county. Just thanking the commissioners and the council kind of for their foresight and thinking about this and looking ahead. And I just wish them well, and it was a nice open house.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good job. Yeah.
Great. Anybody else? Anything? Commissioner reports. Commissioner Ewitz.
Yeah. One thing, couple things, fill you guys in on one request. Jade is not here yet.
Yep,
is she?
she's behind you.
Sorry. One, I'm happy to report that the building corporation has signed the letter of substantial completion for wastewater and the water infrastructure expansion. So those two are finished. So those are behind us, and now we're on to the water tower. So I don't have an update for you this morning on the water tower. I'm in the process of getting updated on that, but we awarded the bid, as you know, a while back to McGuire and for the water tower construction itself. And there are a few peripheral things that we weren't sure about, some inspections and that type of thing that we haven't awarded the bids for yet. So we're still working on that. So like I said at the commissioner meeting the other day, the biggest issue I think we have with the water tower now is what color do we want it to be and what do we want it to say. So I think that'll be the toughest decision from here on out. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm more than open. Secondly, I wanted to pass along that at our meeting, gosh, this past, I don't know when we met, last week.
Yeah.
Sorry, the days
Fifth.
are running together between the fire department and working my days off. So Jada and the folks from, I can't remember, what was the lady's name? Tristan Comagese. Yeah, I can never remember her name, and I can't hardly pronounce it either. But they brought in their plans and their budget for the new homeless shelter here that's about ready to open up, and they have been able to accumulate the majority of the funding for that project. And as you'll see here in this handout, they're really, really close. Now they're down to some staffing, being able to have some perpetual funding for staffing. So as you'll see on the report there, I believe that Center Township is donating quite a bit of money to the project, and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. So even though that the homeless shelter is, you don't have to be just from Center Township to utilize that, but Center Township has seen the need for it and has stepped forward and contributed quite a bit of funding. So since everyone in Clinton County is eligible to stay there, I told them that I would support their efforts and come and ask you guys to share in that vision and help to perpetually fund this for the foreseeable future. Because to my knowledge, we don't have any type, right now we don't contribute any money to any type of homeless shelter as a county government that I can think of.
That's
I could be
correct.
wrong.
That's correct.
But I'm pretty sure that we don't. So, and there is a large need for this. People don't realize, and they don't see it, every day. It's not something that's visible. I see it at the fire department. Jada obviously sees it as being part of Center Township government, and they see it quite a bit. So, unfortunately, that's just the state of things here. And So this shelter can accommodate, you'll have to help me with the numbers. I'll let Jada tell you a little bit more about the shelter, okay?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
The shelter, actually, I worked yesterday at the shelter with a few other people. We put our beds together. Beds are in, desks are together, so we're moving along really well. Fingers crossed, we're anticipating to be open November 1st. We received funding from a grant from IU Health. Center Township made donations. We have some others services that we also work with in conjunction. Bauer Family Services, Healthy Communities is a large partner as well, the United Way, whether that's been monetary donations, in-kind services, you'll see that. But we have secured the funding for a large majority of this project. What we're seeking the support is for the additional staff member that is needed. So that's where we're down to, is we've covered most of everything, but we just, the part-time shelter staff that will run it in the evening, overnights, is what we were seeking out from the county.
Josh, you'd said to me privately, and I guess I don't, I hope it's okay I bring it up, but you were gonna approach the city to see if we could split that.
And we had also intended that as well.
Okay.
That's correct.
So-
I have not yet, and I don't know that they have either.
No, well,
Typically-
we've made we've kind of reached out, but we're not formally on the agenda yet, but we will be soon.
And that's, so in other words, trying to split the 44 to make it 22 each would be the goal.
Correct.
And would this be something that would need to start in January? Or is when I guess I'm not sure on the timing of when are you wanting something immediately appropriated or for the 22 budget year, I guess is what I'm saying.
Essentially, I think with Tristan's budget, I think the ask was by the end of the year,
Okay, by the end of the,
but we,
okay.
yeah.
I just always feel, I didn't want to,
No,
I wanted to come back to it in November and when maybe we know what the city's thinking and,
Sure.
you know, we've had a chance to maybe look over the budget a little bit more and,
Do
yeah.
you remember what the wage was, the hourly wage?
The hourly wage, I believe, is $13.50, and they're gonna work, I believe, the part-time staff will work like 28 hours a week. They'll split the shifts 7 PM to 1 AM, 1 AM to 7 AM. There is a shelter director that works during the day, because that's when we would intake the people and that, and then, because the shelter will only be open overnight hours.
It's not, they don't stay there during the day, they have to leave,
And
they come back at
then that's,
night.
yeah, they leave in the mornings, the director will go and meet with them, see what kind of services they need, and we can provide transportation, those type of things, and get them to where they need to be to secure a more permanent housing, a job, those types of things.
I want to bring up something that I don't want to feel like I'm passing the buck and I don't want to try to herd cats, but it's, and you'll know this, but it's specifically in the purview of the township government to support this kind of thing, right? I mean, I know we've gone around trying to get, for a very worthy cause with the EMS building, trying to get the township trustees to support, but have we approached, if it's gonna be countywide, whether the township trustees would help fund some of this shortfall? I mean, cause they actually, that's included, I mean, in their,
It's certainly worth
Mission statement.
exploring.
I'm not 100% sure, that may have already been at some point in time. We've worked on this for 2 years now, so I think that has been approached, but there's
just-
not been any
I just
other.
wanted you guys to know that.
Yeah.
Commissioners, that this is something that we would support expending funds on.
certainly a worthwhile thing. I guess what I feel like is, as a taxpayer, knowing I'm paying township taxes, that's part of what they're supposed to be used for. You know, it feels like we at least ought to explore that a little
I will
bit.
verify that information that they have reached out.
Because
and
if we
not,
don't,
I
we're
will
paying
make
that
sure.
tax rate for it, and then we're paying for it again if the county, you know. So I don't want to come across as Scrooge there, but it feels like it was a question that needed to be brought up.
Well, it's just a extra avenue to,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all. Yeah,
My question would
congratulations.
be, what kind of discussions has the board and other people who have been active in putting this together, what kind of discussions have you had as far as sustainability goals? You know, grants come and go. You know, is this funding expected on an annual basis once we make some sort of commitment? I think those things we need to look at.
Obviously, and Tristan said that with the
Yeah.
commissioners, obviously, we would, I mean, greatly appreciate a yearly contribution, but that's, I mean, at this point. in
Or
time,
is
but
this a
we-
one-time?
But we are, that is something that we're going,
My
it's-
intention was for it to be a perpetual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It
we
would
need
be,
to talk
it
about
would be just like any other non-for-profit that we would have to have an agreement for service. And,
right.
you know, there's some hoops we'd have to jump through, but
But that is part of the shelter director's job, is to secure funding going forward. And we do have things set up, obviously, Center Township, obviously, we put that into our budget for, I mean, every year we put that as a separate line item, even from normal services that they provide for the shelter. But that is, yes, the intent to secure additional funding, not always, like you said, you can't guarantee a grant, so.
one other thing. Alan had a really good idea about the townships, but, you know, the word homeless shelter right off the bat goes, okay, what township are they coming from? But if you could identify where your customers are coming from township-wise, a thought would be to, you know, reach out to that particular township trustee and ask a certain amount that's fair and reasonable. Say, hey, maybe almost like billing the township.
Maybe that's the way to handle it, is an agreement.
And that's true, and a large majority do come from within Center Township, and we have dedicated an
Right.
amount of money towards
one-
that as well.
Yeah.
right.
Um,
Just speaking from my experience with township here in Clinton County, I think if we wait for that to happen, we're gonna be waiting a long time. We're gonna have to step forward and take care of it, just like we have with some other things. And that's why I'm here today, so we might as well, in my opinion, get it over with. If we can split it with the city, we'll be in good shape, but, you know, you're exactly right. I understand exactly what you guys are saying. If you deal with it based on population and where they live, you're probably right. The majority of it, I'm sure, is gonna be in Center Township and the city of Frankfort. You know, we're kinda in the same boat with Humane Society and Animal Control. We foot the bill, but the majority of the calls are in the city of Frankfort. So, you know, I don't see it as dissimilar to that. So, I didn't think, you know, it was a ridiculous amount of money, you know, $13.60 an hour for a job that, let's face it, I'm not sure I would want to be the person who works there. You know, I think it'd be difficult, it really pulls your heart. It'd be tough to see some of the things, so anyway, that's
Yeah,
why we.
thank you for
today.
bringing it
I
up.
wanted to,
Yeah.
you know, put that out there, it's something we support, so,
Okay,
all right?
thank you,
We'll
Jada.
come
Yeah,
back to you
thank you.
after.
Is the,
We'll revisit in November.
it was kind of alluded to the fact that Clinton County is not doing anything at this point right now to help as far as homeless situation. Is that common in other counties, that they do have homeless shelters, and it's, I mean, oh yeah, like an obligation, or is it just something that,
A lot of the funding, when it comes to someone who is homeless, they essentially, their first step could be to contact that township trustee. When I attended township conference last month, there are several counties that do have some sort of a shelter, and some of them are ran by township governments, some of them are, you know, in conjunction, a separate thing, like what we've done here in our county and made it a separate entity. Some of them are strictly, you know, non-for-profit, faith-based, that type of thing. So each county is a little different in how they take care of that need. I do know within our township budget that we have helped quite a number of people this year. And we're getting to the end of the year, and that budget is almost depleted for that. So, I mean, obviously, on my part for township, for Center Township, we're putting in that money to help get this started and to help alleviate some of this.
last year, the Center Township actually granted money to the YMCA to help housing over the wintertime for.
The warming
homeless.
shelter, we
Yes.
did a warming shelter.
Is this gonna help with that as far as
Mm-hmm.
eliminate that
Yes, so essentially, they would be able to go to the shelter, if need be, and we're still probably gonna have something, in conjunction. I don't know that it'll be with the Y this year. It actually might be with the, Faith Family Church, to have a warming shelter there if needed. So if we get, or maybe families that we can't house at the shelter, the arrangements would be made for that if the warming shelter was needed as well. What we're hoping with the shelter being open November the 1st, then that will be where they can go.
This is maybe a silly question, but do the township trustees within Clinton County ever communicate, or I want to say almost have an association, that's an overkill word, but I mean, is there ever a attempt to coordinate on issues that are common across the trustee world?
Center Township trustee has reached out on different items. The response is just not there. It's just not there.
Okay.
Well, I would hope churches would be coming alongside of this.
And they do.
Yeah, I bet, yeah. Where is this location? I'm sorry, Jen.
It'll be at the United Way building.
Okay.
The United Way offices have moved to Healthy Communities.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the United Way building is where we're gonna,
Thank you.
it's small, but it gets us started.
I may have missed it. How many beds?
Right now, the ability is to house 6 men and 4 women is what we have room for right now.
Do you see the homeless situation on a rise, or is it?
Yes, trustee Pratt actually just in one day last week, had 7 people in the office in one day. I think people misunderstand when you say homeless, you automatically think of that person that's, living on the street there's just so many different situations that homeless that word doesn't categorize. There's so many different ways to see it. There's people who are it's short term, that, something's happened, a domestic situation. We've been working with the sheriff's department, inmates that get released that need somewhere to go temporarily until we move on. So there's a lot of different situations, more than what you think of in traditional homeless situation.
I got one more question, if you don't mind me asking this, but when a homeless shelter is built, has any studies ever been done to see that the homelessness actually rises versus lowers? Because obviously, the concept, if you build it, they will come mentality. So the more amenities that we provide, the more they're gonna be seeking that. I mean, obviously.
And there are a lot, and we address that in our policies and procedures, and I can bring that to you guys too, or send an email out so you can read that, how we have this set up. It's more, for us, it's more emergency type based temporary housing. They have to go to the township office, check in with the director to secure their bed for the evening. They have to report between certain times. After that, the door is locked. You can't just show up. When they leave in the morning, they have to put in the effort to go and to the wraparound services. There are things that they need to do and complete to be able to stay the next night or what have you. We've set it up initially, 7 days as a maximum, unless there are circumstances. It's meant to be a hand up in their situation and take them to those opportunities that they need. Get them connected with the people to help get them on their way and on their feet.
I'm sorry, I put that in front of you. Did you have
I was
another
just gonna
question?
say, it hit me yesterday. We started the day with a guy that wrapped himself up in a tarp, and he was sleeping on our cement in front of our shop. And we had to, I didn't know what to do with the guy. He wasn't gonna call, but it was just, really, that's happening here.
It is.
Yeah.
The township actually takes care of 2 cemeteries in town. There are people that sleep in the cemetery or down by the creek behind the cemetery. It's a lot of things that you just don't see it, so.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office takes about, I'm gonna guess, probably once a month.
Yeah.
Complaints on campers, squatters, people that are places that, are not generally used by anybody else, but it's owned by somebody, so we have, our officers go out and check these folks and move them on. And there are several communities that have ordinances in place, and I think I brought one, I think I talked to the commissioner about, that it's about camping, it's about, it's about the homeless. These have to look at that because the problem does rise. And you have your docks and your shops and your buildings and your outbuildings and your vehicles that are you don't have people in them and private property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an issue.
And right now, I'm within the township as well, we do transfer people if we can, because as of right now, the facility's not open, so, we take people to Kokomo when it was open, we take people to Lafayette Transitional Housing. If they qualify in certain instances, they will be placed at Parkview.
Good questions. Well, we'll take it under advisement for now and review in November.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jada, for all your
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
Any department heads need time with the council?
Just a quick update, received an email from the statewide 911 board. We will get an extra distribution, it's anticipated
Okay.
around the 15th. I don't know what the amount will be.
Good.
But we will get an extra distribution this fiscal year on the 15th.
Awesome. Good news. Sheriff?
Real quick, just, kitchen appliances were purchased and waited upon. We've taken delivery of, the dishwasher, and, we've had to get an outside contractor to come in and do the electrical hookup. It's a 3-phase and all that, and and the comfort zone of our maintenance people is not with that kind of voltage. So, we do have a contractor coming in to get everything hooked up here in the next week. And also, the same thing, we had to upgrade, electric for the skillet or the cooker, the other cooker that we bought. So it's a dishwasher and a braising pan, I think is what it's called. So those things are purchased, ready to install. They've been delivered, so we've got all the back work going on that. And hopefully in the next week, we'll have those up and running there at the facility, so which is nice. Canine training, Sergeant Mitchell is a certified trainer, so he's training community corrections canine with Nick Hillman, and our Melissa Trump, Deputy Trump, is taking care of, she's the handler for our dog Tico, and so they're doing a fantastic job, working very hard at getting those canines trained, but it'll be, another 6 to 7 weeks before they're out there on their own as far as the canines being certified. We have a group of people going up to Fort Wayne today to pick up 6 of the Tahoes and bring those back. We're using a local vendor for the graphicking, putting the markings on the trucks, and then they'll go to a upfitter to get police lights, things like that put on us. So hopefully in the next 3 weeks, you'll see some of those vehicles out there. They'll be delivered. If you want to stop by, check them out. They'll be at the sheriff's office hopefully this afternoon unscathed. And so by the end of the month, we'll get the final 3. That'll close out this year's vehicles, and then we are in line for, or have the ability to get the next set. Kelly Chevrolet will have that as well, so non-affiliated with me. So, and on the other side of it, community corrections, I've spoke with Brett Barton in regards to replacing at this time 1 vehicle, which is a transport van that Deputy McCarty, Special Deputy McCarty drives, and it's at it's a minivan. It's at 100 and probably 15 to 17,000 miles now, so it's in no straits to get replaced. We looked at a lot of vehicles. The minivans were actually more expensive than the Chevy Traverse, and the Chevy Traverse has a lot of space. It has actually more space than the Tahoes we bought. So I was surprised. I was absolutely surprised. So that and cost-wise, there's about $14,000 difference in the cost of a minivan and a Chevy Traverse. So $30,000 versus $44,000 is what we have found. So just asking for the blessing of council when to do that out of the misdemeanor fund.
Brad, do you remember, did we get the current minivan out of misdemeanor? I'm pretty sure we did, didn't we? The transport minivan?
It's been a few years, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
It was
that we
before
did.
my time, so I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's probably 5 years ago,
Yeah.
6 years
But
ago.
I think we did then too, so, Yeah, I think that seems like an appropriate.
Okay.
And
Fantastic.
just to review, that both of them have to sign off on spending from misdemeanor funds, so.
We're in agreement, I think,
Okay,
and then we'll just ask for your blessing.
okay.
Yeah,
With that, everything else, moving right along, getting ready to turn into a rainy, wet fall.
great. Well, not the rainy, wet fall part, but.
Good for me. Anybody have any questions, anything like that? And if you do, later on, reach out. Trying to get everything put in there, the chillers and all of that information. It is one of those things where, that equipment is so old, and, one thing that I have to speak for my maintenance folks, because their concern is just that we're putting in this new equipment and then everything else beyond it. What issues are gonna come up with it, the controlling system, the hardware, and that's way beyond my scope, and I have to count on, Mark Timmons, I have to count on these contractors and to see where we're at. And is that gonna be another bill 6 months from now, 8 months from now, when, I think commissioners have an idea and a grasp on of, completing that entire system, things like that. So, I mean, that's the only thing I have question about, and it's from my maintenance folks, had the question of maybe for Josh and Mark, that controlling system and that system is attached to other 30-year-old parts. What else will it, would need replaced and, and that.
Everything needs replaced, but this is just the start.
Okay.
And then everything else will come later.
All right, and that's what I'll talk to Terry and Brian about, and just let them know, hey, this is a piece of the puzzle, and they'll keep addressing them as they come. So that's really it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have one more question for the,
Oh.
Josh. The EMS buildings, townships, what was the participation at the end? Was that 100% participation?
No, it was not.
What was the total?
We had Kirkland,
3 out of 6, I think.
Beaver Creek,
Forest.
Forest, and Warren. Mary Miller. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know the total. I'll have to look it up.
Those are the three
Brett,
that
do you
did?
remember?
I don't.
Yeah.
Was,
The two that did not were Johnson and
Michigan.
Michigan. So
I haven't given up on them, but
Well, I think that Greg did say that he did hear some people were disappointed it wasn't a little bit bigger.
yeah,
They
I
were
don't know
looking
why.
for
Yeah,
another bay
one
and-
particular trustee, and I'm not going to name him, was
Yeah, that's what I was
concerned
figuring. I
about
wasn't either.
why there wasn't a second bay, and
Yeah.
that, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that if you ask for money to offset funds from a project, that if you add to the project, then you're not offsetting any funds. So that's why there's not a second bay. So, but yeah, pretty frustrated. So.
Ray,
Good morning.
good morning.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Clark, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm here.
Just wanted to give you an update on redistricting, reprecincting. Wanted to make sure you all got my email.
Did.
Hopefully you didn't think it was too harsh. Okay, good deal. That was your last, opportunity with that email to, if you wanted to have any input on if I had to change anything. Okay, hopefully you all understood that. Okay, good. So 3210, you're out. So, I got some maps the other day, not for the county, but from legislative maps. There are some changes that they have done. You probably have seen those on the news, that sort of thing. And then I came to a big old screeching halt, trying to work through that, banging my head against my desk, wondering why can I not do this? And then I realized at the end of the week that my contact at the state, who's supposed to be helping me with this, didn't send me all the information. So, we're at a big old nowhere at this point. She was supposed to send that information to me yesterday. As of yet, I haven't received that. It's my census block numbers. I can't really do anything without those numbers. So, hopefully we won't really have to move anything. There are some cleanups that have to be done in our precincts in the city of Frankfort. But I'm not planning on moving any precincts. We are grandfathered in under a grandfather clause, so that makes my life much easier. Just moving a few lines to clean some things up from the census blocks. The maps that they sent us for those are a little funky, and they don't quite match up with our precinct lines. So moving some of those things around. Most of those, though, nobody lives in, so it's not a huge issue. I don't think anyone's in any trouble of losing any of their districts. I'm not going to move anyone out of their districts, that sort of thing. So I think you don't have to lose any sleep over that if you're concerned. But that's where we are at this point moving forward. Any questions? No?
I did appreciate you sending the email to keep us up to date.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I try to make them as lengthy and wordy as possible, so, just to,
I call that detailed and
Okay.
information packed.
Yeah, yeah.
most people call it annoying, so,
All
call
right.
it what you want. All right, well,
All
that's
right.
what I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, one more thing. I spoke to, contacted Microvote the other day. It looks like a go-ahead for getting all the VVPATs we need for free.
Wow.
Yeah. What they're waiting on now is it took so long because their contact person at the Secretary of State's office resigned. So it was kind of like pulling teeth to get any kind of info. So what the president of Microvote is waiting on now is a word back from them verifying that yes, they can do what they want with those and that is okay. Last definite okay to go ahead and give those to me. So any day now, I keep waiting and hoping that I will get that official okay, that we'll get all the VVPATs that we need for free. Now, I did kind of, you rub my back, I'll rub yours. Microvote did come out last year, of course, with new cases to store a nice long case that you store your voting machine and a VVPAT inside it, lays down nice and flat, so it's not just kind of sitting in a corner waiting to tip over at any time. So it was one of those kind of understood, we give these to you for free, then you can buy cases from us. Absolutely. So I am still going to spend some of that money, if that's all right. And, maybe I'll come to you before the end of the year. There might be some other equipment needs that I have, if that's okay. Since we already have the money, we can go ahead and use it. My iPads are woefully outdated and are ready to not be supported by Microvote anytime now. We just don't have that official word, so I will have to buy, and I think we spoke about this earlier, iPads. So those will have to be, so maybe this is the
Yeah.
year that we can go ahead and purchase new iPads.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department heads? Rodney? Good morning.
ladies. Just wanted to come before the board or the council and I have been apprising you of the idea we eventually are going to get additional monies from the federal government through insurances. Left you a voicemail seeking guidance on, I don't know if you've had opportunity to listen to that or not.
We'll have to talk after.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I do want to let you know we are starting to see that money. So we will be utilizing it. Part of that's for thinking about, getting the health department ready for the next situation that may occur in the coming years as well. So I wanted to make sure to get that earmarked. I wanted to say that the auditor's office has been working hand in hand with us, as is obvious with the interlocal loan that we got for that. They sat down and worked with us on some additional funding numbers that we wanted to get straight so we could carry that forward into this future here too, this year. So wanted to thank them for that as well. I think I added it up during the last board meeting and we're at about $750,000 worth of funding with our budget and all of the grants that we're currently managing. So that's over twice as much money as what we normally manage. So again, my thanks to the girls. They've spent probably endless hours like us trying to keep all that straight, setting those things up. As you saw with the transfers and the additionals,
You know, we set these grants up and then now we're basically moving money to try to maximize what monies that we were given for those line items. So, again, my thanks to them for all of that, so.
All right.
But appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank-
thanks, Rodney. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. I think we've come to the end of the meeting then. Seeing and hearing none, call the meeting adjourned.